Welcome to the Sustainability Nugget podcast. I am Rarisu Maraibi.
And I'm Tosin Folorunsho.
On this podcast, we learn about sustainability by discussing various related topics while focusing on three pillars: the economy, the society, and the environment.
Welcome everyone to the Sustainability Nuggets podcast. My name is Tosin, and today I have a very lovely guest with me. Her name is Rebecca Mink. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi, Tosin.
Welcome to Sustainability Nuggets podcast. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay.
It's really, really awesome to connect with you and many other people through this amazing creation that we're doing today, where we're talking about what Mink's all about.
Yes. Okay. So Rebecca Mink founded the Mink brand to offer an alternative to leather, and the Mink brand houses Mink shoes and Mink materials, which is launching very soon. I'm excited for that.
Mm-hmm.
So Rebecca's passion to build Mink started at the astonishing age of 4 years old. I want to hear that story.
Yes.
And she refused to eat animals and wear shoes made of leather. Then she went on to become a celebrity wardrobe stylist, creating fashion-forward luxury options that did not harm animals, people, or the planet. She created the first luxury vegan shoes 22 years ago in Italy, sourcing available sustainable materials. After studying vegan materials for decades, Rebecca has now invented a supreme bio-based plant leather made from reclaimed fruits and vegetables to launch in 2024.
Kind of white.
Yeah, we're going
Should I
to
know
definitely. You take me through all of this and explain what they are. So Rebecca is a pioneer in leading innovative technologies in sustainable materials, focused on using no plastic while still creating luxurious products with no compromise. Our life work is to shift the paradigm of how people view animal leather versus sustainable non-leather options. So welcome once again to our show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Super to connect with you.
So I'm really curious about what made you decide to stop wearing leather at such a young age. What happened?
Yeah, it's really, I was 4 years old. There's a real story behind my aha moment where I was like, what? And a little boy was telling me that it was a barbecue and like everything was like a classic kid's backyard birthday party, and they were barbecuing hot dogs. And I sat down and I was like eating a hot dog at 4 years old at this birthday party, and this little boy told me hot dogs were made of dogs. And I was like, wait, what? I was like, and so my whole world changed, and therefore my parents' world changed. And I was really not having meat. So I would like spit it out at the table. I would like, put it in napkins and flush it down the toilet. I would do anything not to eat any animal products. So my mother literally had to show me if things were not animal products or not. And she was so supportive. And so she started making different dishes for me. And then like it ended up that all four of the children ended up becoming vegetarian because my food seemed much more exciting, it was something special. So yeah, that happened. And then when I was about 11 or 12, I found out about PETA. And PETA like rocked my world a whole nother round, where I was like, people are testing on animals. And then I would get these pictures and I'd put them in all the medicine cabinets at my house. And then that was it. I couldn't eat dairy anymore. I got exposed to PETA at such a young age by just being inquisitive and finding some literature on them, literally a piece of paper because it wasn't online at that time.
And PETA is the organization that is against...
for the ethical treatment of animals.
Yes.
Yeah, it's an amazing organization that does some really, hardcore, marketing and really gets to people's, thought process, which is really what you need. And I chose to do this, but they do their thing, and it's awesome.
And so 22 years ago, you started Mink.
Yeah,
That's
23 years ago.
23 now,
Wow.
yes. So that was in the 2000, year 2000.
Yeah, in the year 2000.
Seems like, for anytime I hear that, I feel like it was at that point, sustainability wasn't even a big
No.
word. Like there was people
No.
talking about global warming and recycling, but
Mm-mm.
the dark side of the fashion industry wasn't really
Yeah.
mainstream yet, and just all of the
It's true.
cruelty that goes into animal leather production. So how was Mink received that early on?
Yeah.
Has it changed now?
There's a whole sequence of, for lack of better, I say, punches that I had to go through, and real dedication on the highest level of passion for making this happen, because it was literally impossible almost, because of the many different aspects that were making it complicated. One of the things that people don't realize is that making a shoe is actually made in, like, I mean, even non-heels is made in a multitude of different factories. It's made in up to 30 different factories. So you're working with all different components of a shoe. So the first problem itself was figuring out how to make an entire shoe sustainable. So the sole, there might be the heel, the insole, there's many different parts of the structure of a shoe that are actually made out of compacted leather and different things. So really complicated things that you have to kind of figure out. So first barrier was the product itself. Second barrier was finding a factory in Italy that would actually do this. And I did. I went for years over to Italy figuring out, like, who is going to do this with me. And I came to a female-owned factory, which is so rare in Italy. And this factory, she was open-minded and really wanted to try to figure out how to make this happen. And so we started making shoes. And so then I had my production sorted, which was the whole crazy thing. And if you fast forward 16 years later, now we're a part owner of that factory, which is really exciting. Now we're real partners. But basically then I moved into the buyers, trying to get buyers to buy vegan shoes. That's another whole barrier, because the buyers were like, wow, vegan shoe, they were scared of it. They didn't want it to compete with other shoes.
Right.
And then the clients themselves and customers, and teaching and educating them. So many different ways that it at that time, it was very complicated to make people understand.
Yeah.
It wasn't like the Prius car everywhere and
Right.
and now you have the electric car.
Yes,
Right?
yeah.
So it's gone through so much great stuff.
So I got aware that vegan leather was a thing probably in 2010, 2011.
Yeah.
Before that, I was used to hearing faux leather. It was always like faux a lot. So I guess how did that, in that time, was it also called, have you always called it vegan leather?
Yeah, I go for the word vegan. I like that it's challenges people a little bit.
Yeah.
It also was pretty much the only word. Like, people even weren't using sustainable at that time. So it actually was a more known word than green and sustainable maybe at the beginning. But also it's, my background and my real heart is in animal liberation. So I feel like it really kind of matches that. But I also feel like there's, especially with what we're doing right now, this is literally edible and made out of fruit and vegetable, upcycled agri-waste. So this is literally vegan material, and edible and vegan, and it's leather. So I think it's the perfect name for it.
So take us through, what's the science behind converting fruits and vegetables to
our secret sauce?
Like,
I'll give you a little bit of it.
Yeah.
No, it's exciting. We have an amazing team. This isn't just me, of course. I have such a great team in many different aspects. And specifically with the leather, I have just genius scientists that are figuring this out with me. And the scientists are also working with my shoe masters, which is a very important part of this. So one of the things that I'll just take a second to talk about, which is a really important aspect of what's going on with vegan leathers, is number one, they have plastic, which we all know. In the plastic ones, you might have heard of, the pineapple one or agave or an apple fabric. Most, if not most, all of them, they are taking the fiber of that material and just mixing it with plastic. So of course it's a strong material, but they're mixing plastic and a fiber from fruit and vegetable waste. What we're doing is very, 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 very different. We're actually looking at what's so beautiful about this waste. I mean, it's like if you think about a mango and you think about a tomato or an olive and you think about the surface, and like if you put water on a tomato, it drips off. If you put like a banana on the floor without its skin, it just dissolves. So this skin and these leftovers is an incredible, valuable resource. And what we're doing is we're actually allowing science and nature to come together with shoemaking. The reason the shoemaking is involved is because when we were working with all these new fabrics that were coming out, there was not one of them that could withstand shoemaking. Because when you make a shoe, you have a really high temperature and high torque and pressure. So when you're mounting a sole and a heel and different aspects of a shoe, you're actually working with an incredible amount of strain on a material. So we were just shredding everybody's materials and just going, what is going on? So they weren't available as well. They were, maybe making it out of one fruit or vegetable, and it wasn't really scalable. Another thing is the mushroom ones, where they're having to build out all these facilities, so they're not using plastic, but they have to grow the mushrooms. We're using upcycled waste, and it's already there. I don't know when's the last time you juiced, but I can't believe how much waste is happening when I juice.
I actually stopped juice. I bought a juicer, and when I saw the amount of
but you can compost it.
Or
make leather.
Which is
that's what I want to do.
I think one of the reasons why I'm so stoked about what you're doing is because of the fact that you're actually making use of waste.
Yeah, it's just exciting. Yeah, it is a happy accident, I tell you, because it started with shoes, then it was about making vegan shoes.
Right.
My story started because I was a celebrity stylist, so I was putting people on the red carpet, and I was buying $20,000 to $30,000 of shoes a month that were leather, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. So I made the best in the world vegan shoes. And then we were frustrated with materials for 2 decades. I'm like, these materials are not working. And so we started creating our own, and we were making 100% recycled plastic bottle and different materials in like 2015 and 16 and playing around with different things with textile mills, but we weren't inventing anything new, so we wanted to do that. So we invented and wrote a patent with this amazing university, Bicocca University in Milan. And the head scientist there, which is actually did some time at Berkeley, which I know that's something that's going on in your world. He is just a genius. And why he's a genius is because he is himself. He's like the master of materials. He's a material scientist to the degree. But he had been studying and came from the world of plastics. So he had been studying plastics for 20 years, and he spent about 10 of it trying to figure out how to make plastic-like materials out of upcycled fruit and vegetable waste. So he is incredible. So his process is basically to preserve it. So what we do is we just carefully preserve it, and then we turn it into like a flour. So then we have a certain micron level of flour, and then we're able to create a whole kitchen, a chemistry kitchen, where we're able to create different materials. So like this one is made out of the leftover olive seeds. This one is made out of tomato and bay leaves. It used to smell amazing. Now it's kind of faded because we've learned also how to take the smells out. this one might be made out of kiwis or different things. So we're basically,
what about this one?
This one I'm not sure, but I basically, we've tried even bean pods, we've tried many different fruits and vegetables, and that is one of the keys to what we're doing, is that we basically are working with something that is made in a way where we can work with every single fruit and vegetable waste, which is like unheard of, right?
So where do you get the fruit and vegetable
great
waste
question.
from?
I love this question.
People eat fruits and vegetables, but like where you need for producing things at this scale, you need.
Yeah, this is
right?
exciting. Yeah, that's what's happening next as the scaling of this and the commercial availability of this. So you're talking to us a little early. So we're like, it's not commercially available yet, but it will be in 2024. We will be taking some pre-orders at the end of 2023 and working with people, specific clients on that for our first meters of the material. Wow. But basically we have, when we started, the cutest story of all is that we were getting some from gelato shops. And also our amazing team in the Bicocca University were just peeling kiwis and eating them. The department was filled with different fruits and vegetables. And when they would work with the cabbage, it would smell. And they were like going through all the materials themselves. And then we basically, a gelato shop can come up with like 80 pounds a week of just fruit and vegetable waste from creating the fruit and gelatos. And then now what we did is we mapped out the whole of Italy. Okay. Now this can be implemented in any country, so that's a whole other story. But what we are doing is in Italy. We are based in Italy in our factory, in our shoe production. And why? Because everything is amazing and perfect. It is immaculate production, and the people of Italy, the artisans of Italy, I bow to them. They are the best in the world. So we're making our luxury leather there because we know the quality that we're going to get. Yeah. We're getting all of our next level of scalability of the materials from mapping out the whole of Italy. Italy is growing year-round in greenhouses. So there's a plethora of this material. There's 3 different areas that we're getting it from. Okay. We're getting it from agricultural fields themselves, right? So the actual agricultural field themselves is having a lot of waste. Maybe these peppers don't look perfect, or there's some bruised pears, and all of that waste we can use. The second place is going to the distribution. So the distribution is the truck. So there might be a weather change, or there might be a spill, or something happening in the journey, and they might lose a lot of agricultural waste or bruising. And then we can take all the waste from actually going in the trucking from place to place. And then food production, like we already talked about, which is a really huge part of everything. So after, looking at all those, we're getting letters of intent from multitudes of different avenues in all 3 of those to give us like semi-trucks worth of waste. Is an incredible amount. In the United States alone, they waste 50% of what we grow. It's just outrageous things that I've been finding.
I know, like some of them are because the fruits don't look the right size, or they don't look perfect. They don't even have any blemishes on them. It's just because they're not the right shape or the right size. It's amazing how.
There's so much we can do, and I'm so excited about being a part of it, because what we're going to do in this next phase is just really use what we have, use what we already have, and make things out of that. I mean, everyone during the pandemic, all the designers were like, oh, they're using their dead stock and stuff, and like, hey, we've been using that forever. Recycled materials, and using vintage materials and such. But there's so much out there that we have to use. So
this is awesome. I'm excited. So you had touched on the smell of the fruits.
Yeah,
I know that with one of the issues with the animal leather industry is just been first finding most of the animals are reared in really inhumane conditions, and then they're killed, slaughtered, and then the processing itself takes a lot of chemicals, very toxic chemicals to get rid of the smell.
Yes.
Which I saw a documentary called Slay. I don't know if you heard about it.
Great. Yes,
and
Love it.
you're just seeing how the factory workers who actually go through the process of tanning are exposed to a lot of toxic chemicals. Some of them have skin cancer.
Yes.
You know, how is the process of, I guess, purifying, or should I say, I can't use the word tanning for this, right?
I've got two interesting stories. One, like a 200-year-old tannery guy came to me, and he was like a 200-year-old family selling leather to Gucci for 50 years and told me no one wants to buy leather anymore. And he said he went to make an eco-friendly leather, and even the eco-friendly leather, nobody really wants to touch. They want non-leather. And he was, giving me that perspective. But then also thinking about, a team member that came to us, and she worked with Dolce & Gabbana, and she was like, she didn't want to work with, she came to me saying, I would love to work with Mink, because when she goes to the tanneries to work on the shoes, the smell of the tannery stays in her nose for 5 days, and she can't get it out of her nasal system for 5 days, and it's just really horrific. So here's the process with ours: 100% non-toxic, 100% natural, and 100% edible. What we're bonding this with is salts and soy and water, and allowing it to become itself again. So we're not using anything toxic. It's really exciting. Even the materials that we're backing it with, so we can back it with certain materials. Okay. The materials we're backing it with are no plastic as well, and also 100% natural. We're working with like hemp and different cottons that are just really raw and not using anything that's gonna exactly. So we're also going to start now working on different colors, and all of that is natural. What we're working on with that, so it seems for natural. I'll say it again, to do that, but it's just so surprising to me that any company wouldn't. But we've always been thinking from that mindset, and just continuing to do everything as we can to keep everything organic and natural.
I think a part of your bio that I loved is talking about making a paradigm shift and changing people's mindsets from, because I think it's a mindset thing, but the hope I have for humans in general is that we're very creative. And this is a testament to that, right? Like we as long as it's sad that in most cases we have to be pushed to a corner before all of that creativity comes out. But when you think of the concept of waste or just saving the environment, there's a lot of opportunity to actually make use of natural things that we have. But we have been stuck in the cycle of plastics, and things are easy to but I'm excited that this is happening, definitely. And I want to know, so these are all dried.
One thing I want to mention on that, I think that the fashion industry is they're so fickle, and they're so complicated, and they want everything so perfect. So what I see, the key to luxury is getting something that's sustainability is something that's luxury, right? So when the fashionista doesn't need to compromise and has the same quality, has the same look, has the same feel, basically we in our factory make Chanel, make Gucci, make Christian Louboutin, make Jimmy Choo in our factory. So the shoe is exactly the same, except for it's vegan, so it's like better. And then now our materials make it non-plastic as well. So it's an incredible feat to go to this, next level in fashion, because it really needs to balance out of that mentality of just thinking, change is bad, but this is actually going backwards to nature and what really exists, so it's really cool. So fashion is definitely opening up, and I am thrilled about it, because we need the fashion industry to really wake up in this area, so it's exciting.
While we're talking about fashion, can you quickly touch on the aspect of consumerism and just like buying a lot that comes with
consumerism?
the fashion industry? How does your I was going to ask this question later, which was, as a brand, how does the Mink brand stay sustainable? Not just with, making alternative materials is awesome, but also in terms of operation or ensuring that you are not also adding to the waste problem in the fashion industry.
Right.
How do you manage that?
Well, one thing I will say is that I had someone come up to me and tell me that they wore a pair of our chick shoes recently. And I was like, oh, do you realize that it's 20 years old? And she was like, no. I had no idea. Was it really 20 years ago I got that shoe? So what I can say is that designing in a way that it's timeless, classic, and making things that are luxury that last 20 years that you can put on your foot and it's still amazing and it's still working and holds up, that's something. Or if you look at our boots, you could like resole them and you could have them your whole life. That's sustainable, you know? Yeah. And then in our practices, you know, the whole team is, you know, thinking in that way. So I've just got such great people around me that are conscious and aware. Yeah. So we do lots of things in the little part of our business, the little things that, you know, are really important. But the most important thing of all is that we're making this vegan leather and we are shifting the paradigm the way people think. Because they're really going to look at things as luxury and fashion and, you know, great design and be like, oh, it's also vegan and upcycled and, you know, no plastic. So.
So you talked about, while you were talking about where you source the materials from, you had mentioned that this could be replicated anywhere, which, that's how you can ensure growth.
Yeah, right? It's $1 billion business here. This is something this is my life work. This is like, you know, 23 years of my whole life. And what we're doing in Italy, we can do in USA. What we're doing in Italy, we can do in South America.
So would that also include like the production, as all of the production stages as well? Because you know how you had mentioned like with making a shoe, it could come from 30 different places, countries now, like literally. So how, if all of your production, is it currently all based in Italy? And then if we're able to replicate that, would it also be like, you source the
only the materials I'm talking about scaling in that way.
Okay.
I'm always going to make shoes in Italy.
Okay.
I don't know if I found a factory that has the hand that I need, because it's a certain hand to make the elegant, high-end luxury shoes that we make. I mean, our factory literally x-rays the shoes before they leave the factory. They know exactly where every nail and where everything is. So it's like, when you get that level of quality that you get in Italy, you can't leave it. So what I'm talking about is the materials. The materials can be scaled in a way that it can be made in any different country. So think about it. Santa Monica, just right over there, they are really strict about people taking their waste and really, you know, putting it in the right, you know, different composting. So they have to put all their organic waste in one spot. I could go to Santa Monica and make a leather by zip code if I picked up their waste. So what I can do is use every organic waste worldwide and set up the facilities. One other good thing to mention in this point is that we invented our patent in material science, which is something that is able to move over to a textile mill or a factory where they produce. Just think about it like this. You know pleather, which is plastic leather, where they imprint all these different things on crocodile and all this stuff, and it's actually just plastic. Well, that same setup I'm able to use, but I'm using organic material instead of plastic. So I can scale this very, very quickly because I'm able to work with the facilities that already exist. So we're able to walk into fabric factory and work with them directly on creating fabric. So we can, you know, just implement our materials, which are organic and non-plastic, into that. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really, it's exciting because I came from a different perspective than most people that might have worked on making a new material. I have an amazing science team and amazing shoe team, But where I was coming from with those two categories is that we work together. The first thing we did is, the scientists talk to these shoe masters. So we're working from the backwards angle. Most people, a lot of scientists can, most likely be not making something that, like, we know for 20 years is not working in some of the other materials that they've been making. So our science team is so connected to it being a product later, so looking at the end life of this. And that's an exciting part because it puts us ahead of the others. So.
That's awesome. Okay, second to the last question.
Yeah.
So since you mentioned end of life, I know that first your shoes last so long, right?
Right.
But in the case when they've reached their end of life finally, what does everything, is it biodegradable or can it be recycled?
Yeah, we're going to get into that a lot more in moving forward. Like this shoe itself, we are using recycled soles for the back. For the sole, and of course we're using some more materials. But I think that it's it's a very complicated process with the shoe, and I know that a few big brands have been able to accomplish designing basically from that angle of every single component. But thinking about putting this many components inside, the perfect environment to biodegrade, it's just something that I've got to tackle with the next few years because it's really something I absolutely love to do and moving forward, especially even our heels. We can get sugar cane heels now, so we're working on each and every component. Also, we're not done with our patents. We just patented a vegan leather, but we're coming up with a lot of ideas to do different shoe components as well. And so I'll be able to move into that category of looking what we can do in sustainability for the footwear industry.
That's awesome.
For sure.
I love the growth process that is happening. And growth for me in these terms is like experimenting with things, learning from how to make the materials better. I'm sure when you started, they weren't probably as strong as this, and then you moved on to that phase. So like when you mentioned about working with plastics for a bit of recycled plastics, like it's all the process that leads to this eco-friendly.
I was too early. I was painfully early. I mean,
but it works out great now. Like it's the timing now seems right.
It's like I'm a 23-year overnight success now. This is like the classic story. Well, it's funny because when I worked with styling, I worked with musicians. I toured with bands. I was on the road like the wardrobe girl. And when I was on the road doing that, you really saw, how people are really going through, their own thing. When I was saying, the 23-year overnight success, when I was mentioning the musicians, is they go through that a lot. So a lot of different industries, they work for many decades, and then actors. When you do your art, it takes a long time, and I'm excited because now I really got this company to be able to be making a product that is a fashion item, but also allowing this material so that we can sell this material to fashion and footwear. Which is one fact that's really interesting is that 47% of leather consumed is used in footwear. It's insane, right? Like a really huge portion. So footwear and then fashion at large, but also thinking of furniture, cars, everything else where we can have this material. So there's
an opportunity.
So much interior design and just comes along. So it's going to be really fun. There's a lot of growth, and now after 23 years, we're going to move very, very quickly, rapid growth, rapid movement. This is the new phase of Mink where everything is, going to be, we're right on the money. So
that's awesome.
We're raising funding right now. We're going into Series A, and Series A is exciting because this is where the real rubber meets the road. We're going to build out a pilot lab where we're going to be making the first, in Italy. Okay. And we're making our first productions there. And it's really exciting because now we're going to get to larger scale and keep moving and working with the factories of the different fabrics to figure out how to make this for everyone.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned, last question now.
Yeah,
You had mentioned a few brands. So do you work with them, like Gucci and Prada and Chanel? Do you work with them to provide the materials?
Yeah, no, our factory works with, the Mink factory works with them to make shoes.
Okay.
We make all of our shoes vegan. They make other people's shoes in that factory as well.
Okay.
So that's connected to our factory. Now, yes, I'm gonna wiggle in to see who's sourcing things as much as I possibly can, because it's important for them to know what we're doing right there in Tuscany, where most of them are based. So
that's awesome. Well, this has been awesome. I'm excited
So
to see
exciting.
the growth for this.
Thanks.
I'm excited that I'm really intrigued by the science behind this and the fact that it's for me, because my mantra has always been that there's nothing that is waste. We just have to find a use for it, which is what you've been doing with this. Yeah, I come from a country in Nigeria. I grew up with people. There was a circular system for everything. So when we finished eating stuff, like the peels of banana, my dad had sheep that he reared, and so we knew that all of our food wasn't being actually thrown away. Like we don't practice composting much, but there was no waste. Like cassava peels would get dried up, just like what they look right now, and then the animals would eat them. So there was also always a circular process of doing things.
that's
so
great.
Yeah, for me it's like just bringing in science to it to be able to develop leather.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. So
Science and nature.
yeah,
It's really,
it's
the key to actually making things
right.
work, because we have so much available.
Yeah.
And it's exciting to think about having the next phase of really making change for all the different things going on in the planet and for people and the animals.
Right.
So,
I'm excited to see how it grows in 2024. And I wish you the best with funding. I hope you get that.
Gosh. Raising funding is so interesting, because you're doing all these amazing things, but you have to be like, well, I need some money to do the next phase of this, and it's exciting to see that. Well, it's great that many investors are really looking at doing this. And, even though people are talking about, the market this is like sustainable hard tech, and this is not going anywhere. People are looking exactly for what we're doing. And so we're going to raise the money and make it happen.
I'm excited for this.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Rebecca, for taking time
Thank
to
you. I
share
think
your
you're
story
just
with
the
us.
best. Listen, I just really am so happy to know you. And
Me too.
thanks for really, making the effort to connect with me and listen to Mink's story.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for taking the time to tell your story. I think it's important that people share. For me, the reason why I'm doing this podcast is to get people to see beyond what we've been used to and see that there are opportunities, creative, innovative opportunities like this.
That's great. That's
Thank
so
you.
cool that you're doing it. Yeah, we have a lot of heritage that most brands don't in the sustainable world, and I think this is, 2023 is the year.
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna find out about Mink.
I'm excited for that.
Thanks.
Thanks once again.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Sustainability Nuggets podcast. I am Rausu Maribi.
And I am Tosin Falorenshaw. If you enjoy this podcast, please leave a rating and review on wherever you listen to your podcast.
You can also show your support by signing up for a small donation to help sustain future episodes. You can find all relevant links in the description. See you in our next episode.